upon us, it's that time of year. Brandy and eggnog, there's plenty of cheer. There's lights on the trees and there's wreaths to be hung. There's mischief and mayhem and songs to be sung. There's bells and there's holly, the kids are gung-ho. True love finds a kiss beneath fresh mistletoe. Some families are messed up while others are fine. If you think yours is crazy, well, you should see mine.
Oh, and the season is upon us here, folks, and this is the Bruins Beat, another edition on CLNS Media. I'm your host, Jimmy Murphy, and joining me now is the singer you just heard there, Kenny Casey of the Dropkick Murphys. Kenny, how you been?
Am I on? Is this thing live?
This is live, my friend. You're on, my friend.
Oh, my God. Nervous. What's up, buddy? How you doing? Merry Christmas.
Doing all right. I'm doing all right. Merry Christmas, man. How's things going? You on the road, I heard, right? On the road. The road to hell right now, sitting in traffic as we speak.
Not touring, just commuting.
That's right. Actually, touring might be a little more comfortable. And for our listeners out there too, Kenny, they might be wondering, why am I bringing Ken Casey, lead singer of the Dropkick Murphys, on a Bruins show? But if they don't know the Dropkicks well, Kenny's a great Bruins fan. Obviously, has incorporated a lot of his Bruins passion into his music, we actually, I think we met because of the Bruins, Kenny, didn't we? Many moons ago, and I want to say
many moons ago. I think it was the Bruins that brought us together, Jimmy.
It was the great Bruins and the great sport of hockey that brought us together. I remember standing on stage trying to hold up a rather tipsy Nick Boynton back in the day.
Yes. Oh, Nick Boynton. He played guitar on stage with us.
That's right.
Remember, him and Brian Ralston came out, played guitar. Ralston comes out with his sweet Gibson Les Paul. He was ripping. Boynton comes out with this like Kmart guitar, and he was playing half-ass playing these bar chords. But I love Nick Boynton. He cracks me up, and he was
a character.
Let's just say that Brian Ralston had him in the finesse column and in the musical talent column.
Yeah, for sure, my friend. So you've got a lot going on, even though you're not on tour right now. You've got a lot going on. You've really taken off with the boxing company that you started. So tell the listeners a bit about that, Kenny, and just also what's going on this weekend.
Sure. Well, I mean, boxing was another passion of mine, aside from hockey, and the bands had songs about, boxers. John L. Sullivan, obviously, we had a song about him from 1999, and then the title track to 2003 album, The Warriors Code, a 2005 album, and the title track's about Mickey Ward, and he's on the cover. So it's always kind of been a passion of mine, something near and dear to me. And then my friend Danny O'Connor, who was an Olympic alternate in 2008, two-time national amateur champion, and I would just watch his career as he turned pro, and he's trying to fight and train, and he trained in Texas with a world-class trainer, but yet he was supposed to sell tickets in Boston and self-promote himself, and I just said, what a grind. How did these guys do it? I said, let me help you, Danny. I became Danny's de facto manager, which was really just kind of supposed to be nothing more than getting them, some press to cover them and introduce them to the Dropkick fans on social media and stuff. But it was like quicksand, I started, doing Danny's fights, and then I became his promoter, and then you're doing the fight cards anyway. And I like to promote. I think that's my strength.
For sure.
Than music,
I think that's one of the reasons. Yeah, it's one of the reasons the Dropkicks are where they are today.
Yeah, getting people to the shows, and so I wanted to bring like a Vegas style like atmosphere, even if it was technically a local fight. I wanted people to make it feel like a special night out, because a lot of times boxing on a local level to save money, you'll just see it in a gymnasium with the house lights up, and I wanted to make it more of a show, and so we started working with Danny, and then started to sign other fighters, because you're doing all the work anyway. It's easier to do it for multiple guys. So we signed some guys from Ireland, Spike O'Sullivan, Niall Kennedy, who's a heavyweight. Mark DeLuca, who's a local kid, great story, U.S. Marine, middle of his career. He went to Afghanistan and
Wow.
took that big chunk out of his professional career, and he's come back, and we've got him now. He's 19-0 now, and he fights tomorrow night for at Plain Ridge Park Casino for a world title, believe it or not. And it's just it's great to be a part of it and help guys, do some of that stuff that really shouldn't have to be their forte. Like, let them take care of business in the ring, and it's a win-win for me. I get to do something that I'm passionate about in the promoting side, and I love boxing, so I get to have a ringside seat and watch, guys I like fight.
Sweet. And you guys, you doing a show in coordination with the event as well?
Yeah. So tomorrow night from 6 to 9, we are doing the Clatter Fund. That's the band's charity foundation. We're doing our Clatter Fund Christmas party, and we've learned a bunch of Christmas songs and some of our own songs and some regular covers. We're just going to kind of play a fun set where it's a few of our songs, a few covers, a few Christmas songs, and
Cool.
we're giving away a bunch of prizes. Just kind of Christmas vibe. We got a bunch of stuff donated, and we got like the bingo wheel, and we'll just pick out winners and stuff. So yeah, it'll be a fun, different atmosphere for a Dropkick show. The room only holds 350 people, sold out, and then the boxing is right after that. And the boxing show is like 8 to midnight. Mark DeLuca will probably be in the ring around 11, and that's going to be streaming on Dropkick Murphys Facebook Live. So if you want to check him out. And then also, really, the biggest opportunity to happen to Murphy's Boxing happens to be on the same night, and it kills me that I can't go. But Spike O'Sullivan from Cork Island, who's done most of his fights here in the last 4 years, he's got a huge opportunity fighting in the co-feature on HBO Saturday night up in Canada. And
That's the one up in Laval, right?
yeah, and he is, he's in against a very, very tough guy who was a world amateur champ when he was an amateur, but by the name of Antoine Douglas. But Spike is old-fashioned throwback, just come forward, throws a lot of punches, a lot of power. He's that type of guy that the old fight fan would love and appreciate. Spike O'Sullivan, and if he wins this fight, man, he would put himself into opportunities that would could really make his career, give him the opportunity to like earn the big bucks, which all these
Right.
guys deserve.
Oh, that's great.
Boxing's just like music in the sense that it's almost like 1% of the fighters are in that elite, like really
Yeah.
making money, and then there's maybe another 5% that would be kind of along the lines of Dropkick Murphys on a comparison where we're a working band, they're working fighters, they can earn a living, but they got to fight a lot and they're in tough fights, and then the rest of them fighting for peanuts, just because that's the nature of the sport when you're trying to climb your way up the ladder and stuff.
I can relate, my friend, being a freelance hockey reporter. Let me tell you,
Exactly.
the media
You know the
industry,
deal.
sports media is just it's like music now, man. It's especially with the advent of social media and the internet. Obviously, it helps, but it also creates obstacles as well because I'm sure you've seen it as well. It dilutes the industry to a point. You know what I mean?
Of course, but Jimmy, the cream rises to the crop. So
Yep. I'll keep
Wait,
rising.
no, the cream rises to the top. Wow, gotta have a coffee.
Hey, let's get into that other passion that we share there, and that is hockey, and specifically the Boston Bruins, Ken. And I'm not sure how much you've been able to follow off and on this season, but this is a team obviously with a lot of turnover and a new coach this year in his first full season in Bruce Cassidy. The Claude Julien era is behind us. I thought he was great for what he did for the organization. I kind of think that, in a way, I didn't like the way he was sort of hung out to dry, and a lot of people blamed him for a lot of things that I don't think were his fault. But, it's a business. It happens. But let's look at the team right now. And, I mean, what do you like about the direction of this organization right now?
Well, first off, when obviously being a long time old school Bruins fan who loved the association of the band's kind of grit image and stuff, when there was going to be that move to speed and stuff, I was like, you know what, man, I'm probably gonna end up going the way with hockey that I went with basketball after Bird retired, and just kind of like, it's not like it used to be, and And I gotta say though, I don't know, man. The speed and the creativity of this team, it has me hooked. And I know they're young, and I know they make mistakes, and they can pull a rabbit out of their hat like they did in Detroit the other night, and then they can get dominated the next night. And yes, that is the case, and obviously consistency would be better. But like, I don't know. It's like old Bruins teams weren't scoring with a minute left when they pulled a goalie and then scoring in overtime. It was always the other way happening to us,
Yeah.
And McAvoy, for everything he does, great. He makes a big mistake, but I mean, he's 19 or whatever. I mean, I don't know. I don't know really where the long term direction of this team would go, and if they have the pots to like win a Stanley Cup. But I will say that even when they struggle and fail sometimes, I'm enjoying the ride.
Yeah, and I think you have to take that outlook. I mean, they're never going to say it, Ken. I mean, you're never going to hear the Bruins organization say it publicly that this is a rebuild, but it is. It's the modern day rebuild. You know what I'm saying? Like in a cap era, and you see so many teams do it. And you brought up the Red Wings. I think they were the king of it for so many years. They were able to just sort of keep retooling on the fly and keep competing. I think that's kind of the model the Bruins are trying to follow right now. But you have to have patience. But I look at it. I love all these young kids coming in. It's a breath of fresh air. They're fun, like you said. They're fun to watch. Well, I'll tell you what, they're fun to cover as well. They're out there having a lot of fun.
You'd have when a guy would come up from Providence. I'm not even going to throw names up, but you watch a guy up from Providence, and maybe it's the Providence is strong now too. But you watch when they bring these kind of rotating fourth line guys. I'm talking over the last 5-6 years. You're going to go, holy shit! They're gonna play this guy again. He
Exactly.
hasn't done anything, but some of these kids, man, it's just like not only like the grinders fourth line guys, but just the young guys that you see come up that that get put into first, second line positions on occasion when they get the chance. They do something. It's I don't know. I'm all in. I hate to say it, but I can't believe But the speed, listen, as fighting goes out of hockey and as it changes, the entertainment value of that speed and passing and time. I mean, it's almost like, this was probably going on for a while with other teams, but this just was never the Bruins game. Even that year that they won the Stanley Cup, I mean, my God, every one of those power plays was just like back to Chara for a slap shot, and it was just like, it was just grit and grinding. I mean, just my kids, both play hockey, and but they're like doing their homework, and a lot of times I'm watching a game and they're in and out kind of. I can't tell you how many times I'll say, I got to rewind this. Kids, come in here and watch this pass or this goal. And I just feel like as a Bruins fan, I was never saying a lot of that before,
Yeah, I'm with you. I think, going back to have sort of trying to embrace it and enjoy it and having patience, I think for guys like our age, Kenny, like, not that we're old by any means, but, for our generations, that we didn't see many Stanley Cups. I mean, we didn't get to taste it. We went so long. It was, 39 years between Stanley Cups for the Bruins. So, and now you get this sort of millennial generation around Boston that's so used to winning championships that I think it's hard for them to sort of have the patience we're expressing right now, and I just laugh at them, at the things they complain about or the things they critique. Like even the way they look at Tuukka Rask. It's like he's become a whipping boy. And has he been great? No, he could be a lot better than he's been, but I don't think he's the main issue. But it's like I feel like this younger generation is so spoiled, and they got to realize, like, guys, you're lucky to see what you're seeing, like, and you got to experience the growing pains here and there.
Yeah, it's tough, and and interesting. Probably the fact that the Celtics are great this year doesn't help.
Yeah,
the cause
exactly.
on Causeway Street either, because like I have season tickets and I've been busy and haven't been able to go a lot, and I leave them with a buddy of mine who's a broker across the street and just try to, if I can't go, or no one that I'm not giving them away, I try to, hopefully at face value. Like the Caps game last night, they were like, maybe get you, 2/3 of the face value. And I'm just like, wow, it's a Thursday night against the Caps and they're coming off a great win in Detroit.
Yeah.
And, I'm just, using that to gauge the interest in the team. And it surprises me that, the youth hasn't captured a little bit more attention. But I guess, like you said, in the bottom line is people want to back a winner and they want to say, is this a team that can win a Stanley Cup? And it probably isn't a team that can win a Stanley Cup. I don't know. Maybe we make a couple of moves at the trade deadline. Or
I know.
something.
But remember the days, Kenny, when we'd just be happy if we could somehow get by Montreal, in the playoffs. I mean, that was like the Stanley Cup to us,
Yeah, no, that dynamic has changed for sure, and I think winning the Stanley Cup, it gave people a little more faith, but it also gave them higher expectations.
Yeah.
So.
For sure. Hey, before we let you go, Kenny, I don't know if I'll put you on the spot here, and I don't want to crank the memory a little too much, but I mean, what got you into the Bruins? When did you get in, and like, what's one of your earliest, memories of becoming a Bruins fan?
Oh man, my grandfather was a pretty. I grew up living with my grandparents, and my grandfather was a pretty dialed in guy in the city, and he would bring me to games and really little, like the end of the war era, and if you remember the old Garden, you couldn't go from the bench to the locker room. They had to put the little kind of black accordion walls up that would block off the walkway underneath, so the team could come and go from the locker room. And my grandfather would know like the detail cop, and I'd get to stand in there, and all those guys would pat me on the head. So like from Hogan's Heroes and the Bruins, you know what I mean, born into it, just as little as I can remember. That kind of O'Reilly era was like really my era of like watching hockey like on my own, not without like my grandfather or something sitting me in front of a TV. And then, of course, that, Neely era was that era of, as a teenager going to the games all on your own and sneaking into the old Garden. And I think the statute of limitations up on all that. But, it just, I mean, hockey was, that was the game. That was, I always say, I mean, even the Red Sox was so. I mean, I'm sorry, the Celtics was so in the Bird era, winning so much. But like, I never even tried. I loved the Celtics in the '80s,
right?
But I never went to Celtics games. It was almost like too corporate. Like you couldn't even.
Yeah.
No one I knew could even. But Bruins games I was always at, and it was just a huge part of my life. Definitely my number one team in sport, and it's nice my kids, being able to do it with my kids now. My middle child, who's 12 now, but I remember when the Hawks brought him out to Chicago, and such great fans in Chicago, kind of like ribbing my son about, hey, it was that Bruins, that was just a great series. And I remember when that Game 6 when the Hawks came back and won it at home, and my son walking out just in tears,
and you could relate to him, so because those are the type of losses that we watched.
Not that you want to see your son cry, but like the fact that they're that passionate about it, is awesome.
Exactly. Yeah, and I'll tell you, you bring up the grandfather story. My grandfather's the same way. He's the one who got me into hockey, and he used to tell me they used to, in the old double bills, when they Bruins are playing a day and the Celtics at night, they'd just stay in the bathroom in the old Garden for both games, and they'd hide and take in both games. Those are good times. But hey, listen, my friend, I appreciate you taking the time. And when do you guys go back on tour?
We're back on tour. We go to Europe in late January, and then come home from that tour in late February and go straight into a U.S. run that ends in Boston over St. Patrick's Day, and then we'll,
same venue, House of Blues, or
we're doing 4 nights, 4 shows at House of Blues, and then one of them get boxing. And they're all sold out already. Even the boxing. Finally,
great.
The people who have been pushing the boxing on are starting to take to it. So yeah, it's, we were talking about maybe even moving the boxing on St. Patrick's Day up to Agganis Arena. So we shall see.
All right, good stuff, my friend. Well, hey, best of luck, and keep in touch. All right.
All right, buddy. Keep up the good work. See you later.
Appreciate it. Ken Casey, the Dropkick Murphys, joining me here on another edition of the Bruins Beat on CLNS Media. I'm Jimmy Murphy. We'll talk to you next week.